Today we're going to do something a little different for social studies. A lot of times you're going to see from here on out videos of me teaching this as well as videos from YouTube, so make sure that you watch and the directions carefully on what to do for social studies. I'm really sad that we aren't together during this time. It's been over a month since we haven't been in the classroom. And this is the time of year where we do some really cool stuff in third grade. And I know that you know what our end of the year project is supposed to be. And I'm so sorry that we're not going to be able to do that together. We're still going to learn about government and the 3 branches of government. And we're going to do today kind of a catch up, a summary of what leads into the government that we have today and why the government works. So we're going to rewind a little bit back to the Revolutionary War, and I know we talked about that a bit when we were talking about Michigan and the country's expansion. And we discussed about the British, and there was a king and why we didn't want a monarch anymore. And what we did was we declared our independence from England. And by declaring our independence, we said we didn't like that type of government anymore. We wanted to have a different type of government. We didn't know yet what type of government we wanted, but we knew we didn't want a king. We knew a king was not going to work. So we fought in the Revolutionary War and we won. And once the war was won, that's when the real work had to happen. We had to create a government from scratch. And we had to decide what type of government we wanted. They had representatives come from all of the 13 colonies, and they had to decide what was next. How were we going to be governed? Who was going to decide what happened to us as a people? They had meetings, and they met, and they made a document. And the document that they made was not the Constitution. The Constitution was not our first form of government. The Articles of Confederation was our first form of government. You might say to yourself, I don't remember learning about the Articles of Confederation, Mrs. M. That's because they didn't really work for us. We had to go back to the drawing board. So we got rid of them. And we had to sit down and we had to come up with a new form of government, one that would work for us. We know we wanted certain things. We know what we didn't want, but we didn't know exactly how it was going to all work out. So, Ben Franklin, Thomas Jefferson got together in Philadelphia and they held a convention. You can go to Philadelphia. You can visit the hall. It's called Independence Hall. You can take a tour of the hall. I have done so. In fact, I would recommend that, with your parents' permission, of course, you Google a virtual tour of Independence Hall. The first thing you'll notice is it looks just like the Greenfield Village and Henry Ford Museum. Henry Ford did that on purpose. So the building itself looks just like Independence Hall in Philadelphia. Inside Independence Hall, they have it set up in the room where our founding fathers decided what was going to be important enough to be a law for our new nation. They sat down and they wrote the Constitution. The Constitution is considered a living document. Doesn't mean it's breathing. What it means is it's changing. When the Constitution was written, the amendments or laws that were in it are not all the same amendments and laws that are in it today. As our country changed and as our needs changed, so did the laws. At one time, women did not have the right to vote. The Constitution changed that, and they put a new amendment in saying women had the right to vote. At one time, only people who owned property were allowed to vote. That was changed. At one time, you couldn't buy alcohol. They changed that. Who you invite into your house was one of the first things that they put in the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights make up the first 10 amendments of our Constitution. It gives us our freedom of speech, a right to bear arms, who we allow in our house, saying we don't have to let soldiers in our house if we don't want to. It allows us a fair and speedy trial by our peers. It allows people not to be able to search our property without our consent, and a few others. One very important one that we practice in our classroom every day is the freedom of religion. It is important for you to know that our Constitution was here when our country started, and it'll be here for a long time after us. If you ever have an opportunity to go to Washington, D.C., you can go into the archives and you can see the original Constitution under a glass. It's a very unique experience, and I highly recommend doing it. Again, ask your parents if you can take a virtual tour of the archives building, and you can see them. So, in the Constitution, one thing they decided was that there would be an equal spread of power. Well, if there was just two of us and we split it up halfway, there could be a tie. You could do one thing and I'd want to do another. That wouldn't work. So they had to split up the power between three branches. There are three parts to our government. Each branch has its own job, but they intersect each other, meaning that they cross over and touch one another. We're going to be talking about these branches of government and learning about each branch individually. We'll be learning about the executive branch. The executive branch houses the president and the vice president and its cabinet makers. We'll be learning about the judicial branch, which is the Supreme Court. And we'll be learning about the legislative branch, which is where the laws are made. It is also known sometimes as Congress. These are the three branches of the government. We're going to focus on them this week and part of next week. There will be worksheets and there'll be videos for you to watch on them. So today, what I'd like you to do after we talk about this is you're going to read a paragraph on your paper that talks about the three branches of government, and then you're going to answer the questions. Number 5 says, you know the United States government is divided into three branches. Research and find out if each state's government is also divided into three branches. I want you just to research if Michigan's is. And you're going to tell me yes or no how Michigan's is divided. Yes, it's divided into three branches, or no, it is not. Okay. Thanks.